Hello and welcome to SOLIDWORKS Skills video.
In this video we'll be working through Worksheet 1. This is for beginners. You may have never used SOLIDWORKS or also may never have touched CAD, computer aided design. So we'll be going at a fairly slow pace. If you find that there's an area that you already understand, you can fast forward. Before you can begin doing any of this work, you must read and comply with the requirements that are shown on page 1 of the worksheet. If you have any issues or questions, or if you are not complying with any of them, you should stop and correct that before trying to go further. Otherwise, some of the things that you'll see now and throughout the course will be difficult for you. So you'll start SOLIDWORKS. The worksheet shows SOLIDWORKS 2015. All of the machines on campus have SOLIDWORKS 2016. They work very, very similarly. Where there's differences, I'll mention them throughout the worksheet. So I'm running 2016. Let's get started. I've already got it running. The screen looks pretty much like what's in the worksheet. I will go do a File, New, Part, and there's my new part. And if you've been taking a look at the SOLIDWORKS screen elements, you'll know that this is your working area. At present, there's nothing here. We need to start creating a part. We're going to create a solid, which means it's a sketch that becomes a solid through extruding. The exact term is extruded boss base. When you click on that, I'm showing you click in the upper left corner. The first thing it will do is ask you what plane do you want the sketch to be drawn on. Once you accept and finish the sketch, it will then ask you about the extrusion itself, assuming that you've properly drawn a closed area. So let's do that. I'll click on Extruded Boss Base. Now, following the exercise, it wants me to use the top plane. Now I'm going to move my mouse. I'm not clicking yet. Notice as I move, an orange highlight bar shows up around the various planes. I'm going to use the top plane. So once it's there, I click once with my left mouse and left mouse button, and there it is. So just for information, when I'm finished with the sketch, I can leave the sketch one of two ways. I can either click on one of the icons in the upper right, or I can click on Exit Sketch over in the upper left as shown. I prefer to use the icons in the upper right. The green one, the one with the arrow, will save the sketch as you've edited it. The red X, will discard any changes. It'll warn you if you accept the cancellation, you will lose any work that you've done in this particular sketch session. So I'm going to go ahead. The exercise asks us to find the rectangle tool. It's up here. It should say corner rectangle. If it says any other kind of rectangle, click the down triangle and pick corner rectangle. And now we're ready to draw a simple rectangle. Using the left mouse button, I move out into my work area, click the left mouse button, drag down, and release. So now I've created a rectangle, and I can accept it by either saying close the rectangle dialog, or I can press the escape key. In general, I use the escape key. That's just a personal preference. So I will push escape right now. And I've finished drawing a rectangle. It's not dimensioned yet. Dimension means that I take a particular feature, an edge, a distance between two features, and I apply a numeric value to it, usually inches, but it could be millimeters or other units. I'm assuming that you're working in inches. If you're not, you should, again, stop now, make sure the configuration is set for inches, and re-enter this video. So the first thing it asks me to dimension is the bottom. So let's go ahead. I'll click on Smart Dimension in the upper left. Now I'm in dimension mode. Notice the cursor changed appearance. I will move down. I'm careful not to be touching any of the corners or the center, just the line. I'll click once with my left mouse button, drag down, click again, Now I have an edit box where I can punch in a number. And the number it's asking me to enter is 5, actually 5.000. 5 will suffice. So 5, now it's 5 inches. So we've now dimensioned the width of this rectangle. Let's go ahead and dimension the height of the rectangle. We're still in dimension mode. Look at the cursor. So we'll click on the right edge. Again, drag out to the right. We will type in 2.75. And now the rectangle is fully dimensioned. I can exit Smart Dimension. Again, I can exit it with the checkbox, Smart Dimension, or pressing the Escape key. I'll use the Escape key on my keyboard. Okay, so now I'm out of Smart Dimension. I'm ready to exit the sketch because right now it's a pretty simple part. It's all I need. I can exit the sketch either by clicking on Exit Sketch or the green arrow. I do not want to discard my changes, so I'll click on the green arrow. And the first thing that it does, the next thing that it does, is to take me to a view. I can scroll in and out with my wheel. I can also change the view by clicking on the wheel and dragging. This is the scroll wheel on my mouse. But what it's really asking for is, how far do you want to extrude? I understand the sketch, but how far do you want to go? It starts out with a depth of 0.1 inches. I actually want, if you check the exercise, I want 1.5. So I'll highlight that, type in 1.5. When I press enter, and that hasn't actually done it yet, but it is showing it to me as a preview. This looks good, so I'm going to click on OK, and there is my extruded feature. Now, what I want to do is to go back into the sketch mode, and I'm going to re-edit it. I'm going to right click on Boss Extrude. This is my feature tree over on the left. I'll right click, click on Edit Sketch. You see where I'm pointing. There I'm back in my sketch mode. Now if I want to view this full view, normal to my eye, I can click on the thing and then click normal to, and it will bring it up into a normalized view. Okay, so I click on OK. I've done that. Now I'm ready. I want to change the dimension of one of the dimensions here. Now in SolidWorks 2016, all I need to do is click on a dimension, and immediately up comes an edit field. I'm not really in Smart Dimension mode. It just allows me to change existing dimensions in a very automated way. That's a little different from how you do it in SolidWorks 2015, but still quite manageable. I'm going to change the 5. I'll type in a 3. And sure enough, it changes the width to 3 inches. I will accept that change by going to the upper right. I'm going to finish the sketch, and now if I rotate the view a little bit, I can make it look pretty much exactly like the worksheet. The next thing is we're going to add an additional feature. This feature is a cut, an extruded cut, and the plane of the sketch will be this front plane. So I'm going to click on Extruded Cut, click on the front plane, and it's asking me to create a circle. I'll go to the circle tool, click on it, come down to the area where I want to start. When I click, it will be the center of the circle, and I'll drag out to an approximate diameter looking kind of like the sketch in the worksheet. Now I've got my circle. I'm going to accept it by clicking on OK. Let's add a dimension. I'm going to at least dimension the diameter of the circle and click on Smart Dimension. Since it was already selected, it goes right into the dimensioning mode. Click on OK, and it's asking me to put in a dimension of 0.875. It's almost that, but not exact. I'm going to make it exactly 0.875. Press enter, and I'm finished with the dimension. Now the circle is 0.875. I will accept the sketch again by clicking in the upper right on the green arrow, and I'm taken immediately into the cut extrude dialog. and here I have the opportunity to tell it how far to extrude. Right now it's set for blind, which means I'm going to go a certain distance that you punch in, and it retained, by the way, the 1.5 inches that I'd used earlier when doing the other extrusion. So I want this, I don't want it to go a certain inch dimension, I want it to go all the way through. So instead of blind, I select through all. And you'll see that the preview changes. That's exactly what I want. I click on OK. And now when I rotate the part, you can see that in fact the hole goes all the way through. One last thing, I have not located the hole or the circle. Again, I'll go over to the feature tree, right click on Cut Extrude, Edit Sketch, and I'm going to add dimensions. I'll add a dimension from the top, from the left and from the top. So from the left, I'll go to Smart Dimension. For those of you who've set up your keyboard accelerators, you can just press the letter D. That's how I normally do it. I'll do that on the next dimension. So from here to the center of the circle, right now it's 0.677 and change. I'm going to change it to 0.635 per the worksheet. It'll move it a little bit. And now I need a dimension from the, let's see, I want a dimension from the top of the block. So that's, okay, here we go. I'm going to finish this dimension. I'll click away from it, make sure that nothing is selected. I'll add a smart dimension. Now I'm going to add a smart dimension using the letter D on my keyboard. If you haven't set up that accelerator, it'd be a good idea. You can use the smart dimension button on the command manager instead. I'm going to use the letter D. Here we go. I push the letter D. I'll click on the center of the circle, the top of the block, and one more time I get to edit the location vertically. 0.8 is what's asked for. I press enter, moved it down just a hair, click on OK, finish the sketch, and now I have a part that is completed. This worksheet is completed. Once you reach this point, please alert your TA. They will review your work and give you credit for what you've done.
Thank you for watching. This video is part of a series created by Neil Rosenberg and Joseph Caswell. All rights reserved.